The morning began quietly in the small city of Marin. The air was cool and a light wind moved through the streets. Maya walked to the market with her two younger sisters, Iris and Nora. They were laughing about a small argument from the night before about whose turn it was to wash the dishes. Life felt simple, peaceful, and safe. The city had been calm for years, and people had started to believe that nothing could disturb their peace again. Maya worked as a technician in a repair shop. She liked fixing old devices that people brought in from forgotten times. Iris was studying at the local university, and Nora helped at a small cafe near the main square. The three sisters lived together in a modest apartment above the shop. They had lost their parents early in life, and since then, they had promised to protect each other no matter what happened. Their small family felt complete, and that morning was no different from many others. At 9 in the morning, everything changed. A low sound rolled through the sky. It was not thunder, and it was not the sound of a plane. People stopped in the streets and looked upward. The sky, which had been clear and bright, began to shimmer like glass underwater. Then a great shadow appeared, wide enough to cover the entire city. It looked like a shape made of metal and light at the same time. The air grew colder, and every bird vanished from sight. Maya grabbed Iris and Nora by the hands and pulled them toward the repair shop. Windows trembled. People screamed and ran in confusion. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Others stood still, frozen by fear. The shadow in the sky did not move closer, but it remained there, silent and still. Then a sound filled the air again. It was a voice calm and clear, speaking in a language that everyone understood. "People of Earth," the voice said, "we are the Arbiter Collective. Your species has reached the threshold of moral evaluation. A test will decide your worth. For each pair of genetically linked siblings, one will live. The other will be removed from existence. You will choose. If you refuse to choose, both will end. You have 48 hours." Silence followed. Then came the cries. The voice repeated the message across every city and village in the world. Every screen turned white and displayed the same symbol, a circle divided by two crossing lines. It glowed like a warning sign across televisions, phones, and billboards. Maya stood still, her heart pounding. Iris and Nora looked at her, pale and frightened. None of them spoke for several seconds. Then Iris whispered, "They cannot be serious. This must be a trick." Nora shook her head. "It came through every system at once. Even the satellites responded. Who could do that?" Maya took a deep breath. "We are going home now." They moved through the crowd, which was thick and noisy. People were trying to call loved ones, but all communication lines were down. Some shouted for answers, some for help. Police cars rushed through the streets, but even the officers looked unsure of what to do. The city felt like a hive that had lost its queen. At home, the sisters locked the door and sat together in silence. Maya turned on an old radio that ran on local frequencies, hoping to hear any official message. A voice from the local station spoke shakily, confirming that the signal was real. The message had been received in every part of the world. Governments were meeting to decide what to do, and scientists were trying to locate the source of the transmission. Iris covered her face with her hands. "How can anyone decide something like that? How can we choose?" Maya wanted to comfort her, but words did not come easily. She stared at the window, where the light of the giant ship above still shone faintly through the clouds. It was not moving. It was simply waiting. In the evening, the sisters walked to the roof. The city was darker than usual because most of the power grid had been switched off. The ship's glow was the only light in the sky. People gathered in the streets below, holding candles and praying. Some called out to the sky, demanding mercy. Others shouted that they would never obey. Maya felt the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. She thought about what the voice had said. A test of moral worth. What did that mean? Were they being judged for how they valued life, or for how they made impossible choices? Iris sat beside her. "Maybe we can hide," she said quietly. "Maybe if we go far enough, they will not find us." Nora shook her head. "They found the whole planet. They will find anyone." Maya turned toward them. "We are not choosing anyone. Do you understand? We will wait. There must be another way." The night passed slowly. Across the world, chaos grew. Some people fled to remote places, hoping to escape whatever the Arbiter Collective was planning. Others tried to build weapons, though no one had seen what kind of defense would work. Governments held emergency meetings, but even the largest armies were powerless against something that could control every signal and every satellite. By morning, the ship in the sky released a series of small lights that drifted downward. They were silver spheres, each about the size of a human head. They floated through the air and spread across cities, villages, and fields. One of them stopped above the square near Maya's apartment. The crowd gathered to look at it. The sphere projected a beam of light and an image appeared above it. It was a figure made of faint silver lines. The figure had a calm, unreadable face. Its eyes glowed softly. It looked neither human nor machine. "I am the arbiter," the figure said. "You must begin your selection. Each pair of siblings must submit a choice within the time given. Refusal will result in mutual erasure." Someone in the crowd shouted, "Go why? What gives you the right?" The figure turned its head slightly. "Evaluation of species moral frameworks. Your civilizations reached self-replicating intelligence and wide planetary influence. The test will determine if continued existence supports equilibrium or harm. This is standard procedure." Maya listened from the edge of the crowd. She felt her heart beating faster. Iris stood next to her, gripping her arm tightly. Nora was on the other side, trembling. A man in the front shouted again, "We will not choose. You cannot make us." The figure replied with no change in tone. "You will choose or you will be removed." The sphere faded and the figure vanished. The crowd broke into confusion again. Some shouted in anger. Others began to cry. Maya turned back toward home. Iris and Nora followed silently. None of them spoke on the way. The city seemed smaller now, as if the very air had grown heavier. Every window glowed with screens showing the same countdown. 47 hours remaining. At home, Maya gathered her sisters in the kitchen. She filled 3 cups with water and sat down. "Listen to me," she said calmly. "We will not panic. We will think." Iris looked up. "What can we think about? They gave us no choice but to decide who dies." Nora's voice shook. "Maybe they are watching. Maybe they want to see if we will fight each other." Maya nodded slowly. "Then we will not give them what they want. We will stay together no matter what happens." The day passed with heavy silence. Across the city, sirens wailed in the distance. News broadcasts showed scientists trying to communicate with the collective. Some experts said the aliens might be testing empathy. Others said it was a form of control. Nobody knew for sure. When night came again, the sisters sat near the window. The ship still hovered above the city. It did not move, but its presence felt alive, as if it were listening to every heartbeat on Earth. Iris whispered, "Do you think anyone will pass this test?" Maya looked out at the silent ship. "We will find a way," she said. "Humans always do." Nora reached for her hand. "But what if they mean it? What if we really have to choose?" Maya closed her eyes. "Then we will choose in our own way. But not yet. Not until we understand what they want." For the rest of the night, Maya stayed awake, thinking. She thought about the meaning of the test, about what the word worth meant to creatures who could control stars. She thought about her sisters, about the promise she had made to protect them. Outside, the ship continued to hang in the sky, silent and patient. The countdown glowed brighter on every screen. The world waited for humanity's answer, and somewhere in the heart of that waiting, a single human thought began to form in Maya's mind. That maybe, just maybe, the test was not about obedience at all. Maybe it was about something deeper, something that the Arbiter Collective did not yet understand. Maya looked at her sisters, both asleep on the couch, holding each other's hands even in dreams. She smiled faintly and whispered to herself, "They want us to choose between love and fear. I already know which one we are." Outside, the sky flickered again, as if the stars themselves were listening. The first day of the test had ended. 47 hours remained. The morning sun rose slowly over Marin, but the city no longer felt peaceful. The sky above was still dominated by the silver ship. Its presence was constant and quiet, like a patient judge watching every movement on the ground. Maya, Iris, and Nora stood by the window of their apartment, staring at the glowing shape. The countdown on every screen continued, 46 hours remaining. The sisters did not speak at first. Maya finally broke the silence. "We cannot sit here and wait. We need to understand what they are looking for. Maybe if we try to show who we are, they will see something different." Iris rubbed her eyes. "They are testing us. But how can they measure what is in a human heart?" Nora's fingers twisted the edge of the curtain. "They said one must live and the other will die. How can anyone think that is fair?" Maya shook her head. "Fairness is not always part of life. But we can show them something they may not expect. They think this is about fear, about obedience. But humans are more than that. The sisters spent the morning listening to global broadcasts. Across the world, families faced the same impossible test. Leaders tried to negotiate. Scientists attempted to find loopholes. People held meetings in homes, schools, and parks. Everywhere, the question was the same: how to survive without betraying loved ones. In one village, a group of children sang songs they had learned in school. Their voices carried through empty streets, echoing against silent buildings. The arbiter ship did not respond at first. Then faint lights glimmered across its surface. The voice spoke again, softer this time. Expression noted. Continue with preparation for choice. Maya thought about what the voice had said. Expression noted. They were observing more than obedience. Perhaps the aliens were looking for intelligence and creativity. Perhaps humanity's strength was not in its weapons, but in its choices, in the way it thought and cared. By noon, Maya had a plan. She gathered her sisters and wrote down a small schedule. First, they would record every memory they shared. Then they would list every skill they each had. Finally, they would write a message to the collective, one that explained humanity without fear or anger. Iris raised an eyebrow. You think they will read it? Maya smiled faintly. They are already reading. If they did not care, they would have left by now. We need to show them what humans can do when they are together. The three sisters worked together. They wrote about small things: the smell of fresh bread from the cafe, the sound of rain on the metal roof of their apartment, the laughter of children playing in the square. They recorded stories of people helping strangers, of scientists discovering new medicines, of neighbors sharing food during storms. Hours passed. Their hands cramped from writing. Nora set up a small projector to display their words on the wall. Iris practiced reading their stories aloud so that their voices could be recorded. Maya organized the messages into a pattern, hoping that if the collective observed, they would see the full picture of human life, not just fear or panic. As evening approached, a knock came at the door. Maya froze. No one had entered their apartment since the ship arrived. Slowly, she opened the door. A group of neighbors stood there holding supplies and lanterns. "We saw your window lights," one man said. "We thought you might need help. Everyone is working together. People are sharing food, water, and ideas. We are stronger when we stay connected." Maya nodded, her throat tight. "Thank you. We need to do something that shows them we are more than fear." The neighbors stayed and helped. Children drew pictures of their families and pets while adults discussed messages that could be sent to the arbiter. Even though the world outside was full of tension, the apartment felt alive with small wonders. Everyone had a role and everyone worked together. By nightfall, Maya had one final idea. "We can do more than write," she said. "We can send them music. Music is universal. It does not belong to one human, and it carries emotion without words. If they listen carefully, maybe they will understand what it means to be human." Iris smiled faintly. "We can play instruments and sing. Even the children can join." Nora ran to her small keyboard and began to play. Maya hummed along. Iris clapped her hands to keep rhythm. The neighbors added drums, bells, and soft flutes. From their apartment, the sound floated into the streets and up toward the hovering ship. The ship pulsed slightly, as if listening. Then, a faint response came through the small spheres that had floated into the city the day before. A single beam of light connected the sisters' apartment to the largest sphere. It shimmered like water, and the voice of the arbiter echoed in their minds, calm but curious. "Your creativity is noted," expression confirmed. "Continue with collaboration." The sisters exchanged glances. They did not understand everything the message meant, but they knew it was a response. They had made a connection. Even in the face of fear, they had shown that humans could think, work together, and share beauty. Over the next day, more people joined. The city streets were filled with voices reading stories, playing instruments, and sharing knowledge. Teachers taught lessons from balconies. Engineers demonstrated small inventions that could improve life. Children wrote letters to the sky, drawing pictures of what they loved most. Everywhere, humans were showing what they could do when they acted together. Maya, Iris, and Nora continued their work, recording, sending, and performing. They realized that the test might not be about choosing who lives and who dies. It might be about proving that humanity was worth something greater. Perhaps survival was not in the hands of the arbiter alone. Perhaps survival came from courage, creativity, and love. On the third day, the collective sent another message. The voice spoke through every sphere in the city. Your response demonstrates ingenuity and cooperation. The measure of moral agency is in progress. Prepare for final evaluation. People across the world listened. Fear had not disappeared, but hope had begun to grow. Humans were showing that even under impossible pressure, they could act with intelligence and compassion. They had turned a cruel choice into a display of strength. Maya looked at her sisters. Do you see it? This is what we can do. They wanted fear, but we gave them something else. They wanted obedience, but we gave them creativity. This is how humans survive, Iris nodded. We are doing more than surviving. We are showing who we are. Nora smiled, her eyes bright. And we are doing it together. Always together. The night came again, but this time it felt different. The silver ship above the city glowed softly, almost gently. The city was alive with small lights, lanterns, candles, and screens showing stories, music, and inventions. Humans had discovered their own strength in the process. Maya stayed awake longer than her sisters. She thought about the words of the collective, about what they were measuring, and about the courage she had seen in her neighbors and friends. Humanity had faced the impossible, but instead of breaking, they had created. The sisters slept in the living room holding hands. Maya watched them for a while, and then she whispered softly, "No matter what happens, we will always find a way. This is only the beginning." Outside, the city hummed with energy. The collective observed silently. They had not expected creativity, compassion, and collaboration to rise so quickly. For the first time, the human response was not just survival instinct. It was pride, ingenuity, and unity. In that moment, Maya understood something very important. The test was not just about life and death. It was about understanding what it meant to be human. Humans did not rely on strength alone. They relied on heart, courage, and the ability to work together even when fear pressed on them from every side. She closed her eyes and allowed herself a small smile. The first step had been taken. Humanity was responding. Humanity was proving its worth. And the sisters, bound by love and determination, were leading the way. The night passed quietly, but the city had changed. People no longer moved with panic or fear. They moved with purpose. They shared stories, skills, and music. Even small children understood that they were part of something greater. Humanity had found a way to respond without betraying itself. Maya, Iris, and Nora slept through the night, ready for the next day. The countdown continued, 43 hours remaining. But the sisters were no longer afraid. They had learned that even when the world demanded impossible choices, humans could answer with something stronger than fear. And somewhere above the city, the silver ship pulsed softly, observing, learning, and noting every act of human creativity and collaboration. For the first time, the sisters felt that they were not alone. Humanity was standing together, and they were a part of it. The morning light touched the city of Marin, but the air was no longer calm. The silver ship still hovered above, its presence commanding attention. Across the streets, people moved with quiet determination, no longer frozen by fear. Humanity had begun to show the collective what it meant to survive without surrendering its heart. Maya, Iris, and Nora gathered in their small apartment early that day. The sisters looked exhausted from the continuous work of writing, recording, and performing, but their eyes shone with resolve. Maya had spent the night thinking, planning the next step. She had realized that creativity and collaboration had impressed the collective. But she sensed something more was needed. Humans had to demonstrate not just unity, but intelligence and cleverness. "We have shown them our stories and our music," Maya said softly. "We have proven that humans care and can work together. But that is not enough. They want to see how we think, how we reason. If we can show them that humans can solve impossible problems, maybe we can change the rules of the test." Iris frowned. "Do you mean we can trick them?" Maya shook her head. "Not trick, show. Show that humanity is more than following orders. That we can create solutions no one expects. We must be careful. We cannot break their rules, but we can bend them with thought." Nora's eyes widened. "How? We cannot create another body or another life. The choice is clear. One lives, the other dies." "That is what they said." Maya took a deep breath. "We do not need another body. We need another way of thinking. Identity is not just a body. It is memory, experience, and choice. If we can show that more than one human can act as a single decision-making agent, we may satisfy the collective. We may redefine what one means." Iris stared for a long moment. You mean, we could act as one mind? Yes, Maya said. We already share memories, experiences, and decisions. If we synchronize our thoughts and choices, we can prove that two humans can be a single living agency. Then the test loses its power over us. The sisters worked quickly. They began by recording every detail of their shared past. They wrote notes about every moment, every choice they had ever made together. From their first day in school to the small arguments over chores, everything was catalogued. They wrote what each of them thought, how they felt, and what they would have done in each situation. Maya led the effort, organizing the information into patterns that showed connections and overlaps. Nora typed quickly on the old computer, linking stories, emotions, and decisions into a matrix of human experience. Iris read aloud, her voice steady, filling in gaps and clarifying points. By midday, they had built a complete map of shared thought, memory, and intention. This is only the beginning, Maya said. We need a way to show it in real time. The collective will want proof, not just words. Nora nodded. We can use the old neural sensors from the lab. If we connect them, they can show brain activity and decision-making patterns. We can demonstrate that we are synchronized, that our choices are the same. Iris hesitated. Do you think they will understand it? They do not need to fully understand it, Maya replied. They just need to see the evidence that we can act as one. That is the cleverness, the intelligence they did not expect. That is human strength. The sisters spent the afternoon preparing the devices. They adjusted the sensors carefully, making sure each was connected properly. They practiced moving in unison, thinking together and making decisions as a single unit. It was strange at first, but soon they began to anticipate each other's thoughts. Their movements became coordinated, their voices harmonized when reading, and their choices aligned perfectly. As evening approached, the city below had grown quieter. Many people were focused on their own preparations, sending messages and sharing creations with the collective. But Maya's sisters were working on something far more daring. They were preparing a demonstration that could change the rules of the test itself. Finally, the time came to send a message. The sisters connected their devices to the largest sphere in the city. Maya spoke into the microphone, her voice calm but confident. We wish to demonstrate the unity of human thought. We are three individuals, but our decisions are synchronized. We act as one moral and conscious agent. Please observe our choices. The sphere pulsed with light, then a soft voice filled the air. Observation confirmed. Proceed with demonstration. Maya, Iris, and Nora activated the neural synchronizers. A faint hum filled the apartment. Light from the devices shimmered across their faces, showing patterns of thought in colors that no human could normally see. The sisters felt a strange connection, as if their minds were weaving together into a single thread. Decisions became instant, synchronized, and seamless. When one sister thought of an action, the others knew it immediately. Now we show them choice, Maya said. We will solve a problem together as one mind. We will prove that two humans can be a single conscious agent. The sisters began a series of exercises. They calculated complex problems, predicted patterns in natural events, and responded to simulated scenarios sent by the collective. Each decision was made together instantly without disagreement. The patterns of thought visible through the devices formed shapes and symbols that glowed with harmony. The neighbors who watched were amazed. It was as if the sisters' minds had fused into a single, coherent force. The collective's voice returned, calm but intense. Your demonstration is unusual. Human cooperation observed. Complexity noted. Continue with additional proof of moral agency. Maya smiled faintly. This is what we have been waiting for. Now they see the strength of shared human will. They see that fear cannot divide us. They see that love and loyalty can act as a single force. Iris added, we will show them that identity is not only physical. It is choice, intention, and action. We will redefine the rules. The sisters continued for hours performing increasingly complex tasks. They solved riddles that required empathy and logic, answered questions about fairness and justice, and created solutions to problems that had no single correct answer. Every movement, every thought, and every choice was synchronized. The sphere above pulsed brighter, showing that the collective was observing carefully. Nora whispered to Maya, "Do you think this is enough?" Maya looked at the patterns of light around them. "I do not know, but it is the closest we have ever come. Humans are not just survivors. Humans are thinkers. We can bend rules with intelligence and creativity. That is our strength." Outside, the city began to notice the change. Other families tried to synchronize their actions, inspired by the sisters. People worked together to send messages, solve problems, and create art and music simultaneously. The city became a network of coordinated human thought. It was not perfect, but it was powerful. The collective had never observed anything like it before. Hours later, the voice of the collective returned. Human demonstration exceeds expectations. Complexity, coordination, and moral reasoning confirmed. Re-evaluation of choice protocol is required. Further instructions will follow. The sisters exchanged glances. Relief and cautious hope filled the room. Maya whispered, "We have done more than survive. We have shown them what humans can really do." They expected fear and selfishness. "We gave them unity and intelligence," Iris smiled faintly. "We are not alone. Everyone is part of this. Humanity is acting as one even without knowing it fully." Nora nodded, eyes bright. "And we are together. Always together." The night came, but it felt different now. The silver ship above pulsed softly, observing, noting, and recalibrating its assessment. Humanity had responded with more than fear or obedience. Humanity had responded with heart, intelligence, and collaboration. Maya, Iris, and Nora sat together on the roof, looking up at the glowing ship. "The next part will be harder," Maya said. "They will want more proof, more evidence. But we are ready. Humans are always ready when we work together." Iris leaned against her sister. "We will continue no matter what. We cannot let fear guide us. We cannot let them break our bond." Nora added quietly, "We will show them that life is more than just surviving. Life is choosing to act with care, with love, and with courage." The sisters stayed awake long into the night, thinking, planning, and preparing for what would come next. They knew the collective would not give up, but they also knew that humans had already found a way to turn the test into something extraordinary. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the hum of the synchronizers. The light from the devices reflected off her face. She whispered softly, "This is only the beginning. Humanity will show them that we are more than they imagined, and we will do it together." Above the city, the silver ship pulsed gently, as if acknowledging the lesson it was beginning to learn. The first true demonstration of human ingenuity and unity had been made. The sisters had not only survived the fear, but had turned it into a display of intelligence and heart. In that quiet moment, the city below felt different. Humanity had discovered a new strength, a strength born not from weapons or force, but from connection, creativity, and courage. Maya, Iris, and Nora had led the way, proving that even under impossible pressure, humans could find clever solutions that honored life and love. And somewhere above, the Arbiter Collective continued to observe, silently noting the human ability to think together, to act together, and to redefine the impossible. The next morning came with a strange quietness. The ship still hung over Marin, silver and steady like a silent moon that refused to move. The air felt heavy but calm. People no longer screamed or ran. They walked with purpose, speaking in low voices, helping one another, building connections. Humanity had changed in only a few days. Maya stood on the roof of her apartment, her hair blowing in the soft wind. She watched the ship and thought about everything that had happened. She had not slept for 2 nights, but her mind was sharp. Iris and Nora were below, checking the synchronizers and preparing the final demonstration. The collective had sent one last message before sunrise. The voice echoed across the city, calm and firm as always. Evaluation phase entering conclusion. Human demonstration will determine collective outcome. Prepare to present final choice. Maya repeated the words quietly. Final choice. The phrase felt heavy. The sisters had come far, showing unity and intelligence. Yet the collective still wanted a decision. It had seen cooperation and emotion, but it needed proof that humanity could redefine the meaning of one life. When she went back inside, Iris and Nora looked up at her. "They want the final proof," Nora said. "I know," Maya replied. "This is the moment we have been working toward. If we succeed, they will see that humanity cannot be measured by simple numbers. We will show them that life is more than a rule. Life is connection." Iris adjusted one of the neural synchronizers on her head. "What if they do not understand? What if they only see data and not what it means? Then we will make them understand," Maya said. "We will speak their language and ours. Logic and feeling, thought and emotion, that is the full picture of humanity." The sisters prepared carefully. They linked their neural synchronizers again and tested the connection. Each could feel the other's thoughts and emotions moving through the link. It was strange but also beautiful. When one smiled, the others felt warmth. When one grew nervous, the others sent comfort. It was more than technology. It was trust turned into signal and pattern. Outside, people gathered in the streets again. The countdown continued, now at 24 hours. Families held hands watching the skies. Leaders sent messages of hope. Scientists from across the world shared their findings, confirming that the collective's technology was unlike anything ever seen. It could observe emotion, measure moral reasoning, and analyze thought. Humanity's answer had to be deeper than any formula. At noon, the sky brightened as beams of light descended from the ship. They formed glowing paths leading toward the city square. One of them stopped at the sisters' apartment. A soft voice filled the air again. Human subjects Maya, Iris, and Nora, you have demonstrated coordination and reasoning. Prepare for presentation. Maya took a deep breath and looked at her sisters. Are you ready? Iris nodded. Always, Nora smiled faintly. Together. The three walked along the beam of light. It lifted them gently, carrying them above the city. The wind rushed past, but it did not feel frightening. Below them, people watched and cheered. Some shouted their names. Others prayed or sang. Humanity stood united in hope. The beam carried them into a bright chamber inside the ship. The walls were smooth and glowing, made of light and metal mixed together. In the center stood a tall figure made of shifting silver lines. It had no clear face, but its presence filled the space with calm authority. I am the Arbiter, the figure said. The demonstration will now begin. You will provide proof that your unity represents a single conscious life form. Maya stepped forward. Her voice was steady. We understand. We are ready. The Arbiter gestured, and 3 small devices floated toward the sisters. These will read your mental and emotional states. If your minds and intentions are unified, it will be recorded. Begin when ready. Maya looked at Iris and Nora. They linked their hands, then activated the synchronizers. Light spread from their heads and hands, filling the chamber with patterns of color. The air vibrated softly. At first, the patterns were separate, 3 different rhythms of thought and feeling. Then slowly they began to merge. The colors blended into one stream of movement, one pulse of emotion. It was harmony, clear and strong. The Arbiter watched silently as the data changed from 3 individual patterns to a single connected form. Maya spoke while the light glowed around them. You asked us to choose one life. We did. We chose the one life that exists in all of us. Humanity is not divided. It is shared. Every memory, every bond, every act of kindness connects us. We are all one in the ways that matter most. The Arbiter's voice was calm. You claim multiplicity as unity. Explain. Maya continued. We share thoughts, decisions, and emotions. We can act together, think together, and love together. If one of us is lost, the rest still carry that part within. You cannot end one without the other, because what defines life is not the body, but the mind and heart that are shared. Iris spoke next. You measure morality. Then see this. No one among us would sacrifice another to save themselves. We define our value by connection, not isolation. If you want to measure humanity, measure the strength of our bonds. Nora added softly. We are one life, not because of machines, but because of choice. We choose to share existence, thought, and love. That is what makes us human. The light around them pulsed faster. The synchronizers glowed until the chamber was filled with brightness. The Arbiter stood still, processing the information. Data streams moved across the walls, showing patterns of unity unlike anything recorded before. You demonstrate high coherence and mutual reasoning. The Arbiter said slowly. Your actions display shared consciousness and moral integration. This challenges the evaluation parameters. Maya nodded. Then you must change them. You cannot measure life by counting bodies. You must measure it by shared understanding. We have redefined what one life means. For a long moment there was silence. The ship hummed softly, and the air seemed to hold its breath. Then light rippled across the walls. The Arbiter spoke again, its voice quieter. Your reasoning introduces a variable not previously calculated. If your claim is accepted, the evaluation must be rewritten. Humanity's worth would not be based on individual survival, but on collective moral coherence. Maya smiled faintly. Then you have learned something new. That is what humans do. We adapt, we teach, we find meaning even in impossible tests. The Arbiter watched the sisters closely. You risk dissolution if this claim fails. You understand this? We understand, Maya said. But it is worth the risk. If even one life can be shared among all, then no one truly dies. The light dimmed, and for a moment everything was still. The sisters remained connected, standing hand in hand, eyes closed, hearts steady. They could feel one another's breath, one another's thoughts. There was no fear now. Finally, the arbiter spoke. Demonstration accepted. The parameter of one life is expanded. Choice protocol recalculated. Humanity's evaluation continues under new definition. The words echoed through the chamber. The sisters opened their eyes, tears glistening. They had succeeded. The rules had changed. Humanity would not be forced to destroy itself through impossible decisions. The arbiter looked at them again. Your demonstration will be shared with all human regions. You have altered the nature of this test. You have shown that collective moral identity is possible. This information will remain within the collective archives. Maya bowed her head slightly. Thank you. We only wanted you to see us as we are. You have shown more than expected, the arbiter said. Humanity's capacity for moral synthesis exceeds preliminary assumptions. The evaluation will now observe how your species continues under the new definition. The light faded, and the sisters felt the floor move beneath them. The beam of light carried them down to the city again. When they landed, people rushed forward, cheering and crying. News spread instantly across the world. The rule had changed. Humanity had passed the hardest part of the test, not by fighting, but by thinking and caring together. Maya hugged Iris and Nora tightly. We did it. We showed them the truth. Iris smiled through tears. We did it together. Always together. Nora looked up at the sky. The ship was still there, but its glow had softened. Do you think they understand now? Maya nodded. They understand enough. The rest they will learn in time. That night, cities across the world lit up in celebration. People sang, danced, and shared food. They told stories of bravery, compassion, and unity. For the first time in days, laughter filled the air again. Humanity had faced an impossible command and turned it into a lesson. As the sisters stood on their roof, watching lights flicker across the horizon, Maya spoke quietly. We showed them that being human is not about survival alone. It is about meaning. It is about standing together even when everything seems impossible. The city of Marin woke to a new morning, soft sunlight spilling across streets that no longer felt heavy with fear. People moved slowly, carefully, but their steps were lighter than in the days before. Humanity had survived an impossible challenge. The silver ship that had dominated the sky for days was gone, drifting silently into the distance, leaving only the memory of its presence and the lesson it had learned. Maya stood at the window of their apartment, her arms crossed loosely. Iris was arranging papers and notes on a small desk. Nora had begun sketching ideas for a local project that could help the city recover from the fear and chaos. Even the small tasks felt meaningful now. Every action mattered. Humanity had proven that even in the face of impossible odds, it could act with creativity, intelligence, and compassion. Outside, people began returning to the streets. Children ran and played, laughing freely. Families embraced, and neighbors shared stories of how they had survived the test together. The city felt alive again. But it was a new kind of alive, tempered by understanding. People no longer moved blindly or in panic. They moved with care, with connection, with purpose. Maya turned to her sisters. We need to share what we did, she said. People need to understand that fear is not the only answer. That cooperation and heart can change outcomes. Iris nodded. We have seen it already. People are coming together in ways we could not have imagined. Even the scientists and teachers are organizing to help others learn what we discovered. Nora smiled. They saw our choice, but more importantly, they saw our unity. That is what will matter going forward. Humanity is not just surviving. Humanity is learning. The sisters spent the day meeting neighbors and friends, explaining how they had synchronized their thoughts and actions. They spoke about shared decision-making, empathy, and collaboration. Some people were curious, others skeptical, but everyone was inspired. Even in the darkest moments, the story of the three sisters offered a light that encouraged others to find creative ways to act together. By evening, the sisters joined a gathering in the main square. People from all parts of the city had come to share their experiences and celebrate. The square was filled with music, laughter, and stories. Artists painted murals of courage. Musicians played songs that had been created during the days of fear. Engineers demonstrated inventions designed to help communities stay connected and safe. Maya stood quietly at the edge of the square, watching the crowd. She thought about how much had changed in just a few days. Humanity had been given an impossible choice, one that seemed to demand betrayal. Yet instead of succumbing to fear, people had chosen courage, creativity, and connection. Iris leaned against her. "Do you realize what we have done?" she asked softly. Maya nodded. "We did not just survive. We proved something about humans, that we are capable of more than they expected, that even when tested we can act with intelligence and heart. That is what they could not measure," Nora smiled. "And we did it together. Always together." The sisters' words spread across the city, reaching people who had been afraid or uncertain. Slowly, a quiet revolution of thought and action began. Humanity began to rebuild not just buildings and streets, but trust, community, and understanding. Every small action mattered. Every shared moment mattered. The news of the test and the sisters' demonstration spread across the world. Other cities began similar projects showing unity, intelligence, and collaboration. People discovered that fear could be replaced with creativity, that impossible challenges could be solved with heart and thought combined. Humanity was stronger than it had ever realized. In Marin, the sisters were recognized for their courage and ingenuity, but they refused to stand above others. Instead, they worked with teachers, scientists, and community leaders to help people understand the lessons of the test. They held workshops on decision-making, communication, and empathy. They encouraged children to explore creativity and adults to practice cooperation. One evening, Maya looked at her sisters as they prepared another lesson for the community. "Do you realize what has changed?" she asked. "This is not just a city. This is a small example of how humanity can act everywhere. We have shown that impossible choices can be met with intelligence and care." Iris smiled. "It feels like we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. We faced fear, but we turned it into hope. That is the real victory," Nora added quietly. "And no one had to be lost. That is the part I love most. We kept our family together. We kept humanity together in spirit." The sisters spent weeks helping the city recover. People continued to work together, inspired by what they had seen. Communities shared resources, stories, and ideas. Scientific teams worked together to develop new technologies that could improve life for everyone, not just a few. Art and music flourished. Schools encouraged students to explore not only knowledge but also moral reasoning, creativity, and empathy. Maya often walked through the streets at night, watching families gather on balconies, children playing games, and neighbors helping one another. The city had changed forever. Fear no longer ruled. Humanity had discovered a new strength, one that could not be measured by technology or force, but by connection, intelligence, and heart. One evening, the sisters gathered on their rooftop to look at the stars. The silver ship had disappeared, leaving only the night sky. Maya spoke softly. "Do you see them? The stars are always there, but we never notice their light until we pause." Iris nodded. "We have paused. We have seen the light of people coming together. That is what matters. That is what humans are." Nora smiled. "And we are together. We made it through without betraying each other. That is the part I will always remember." Maya took a deep breath. The test was never about fear alone. It was about understanding what humans could do when faced with impossible choice. We proved that humans can act with wisdom, courage, and love. That is the lesson we carry forward. Across the city, other families had similar conversations. People shared stories of creativity, teamwork, and courage. Scientists discovered patterns of collaboration that had never been studied before. Artists found inspiration in the unity of human action. Humanity as a whole had been transformed by the test. Weeks passed and life returned to a new normal. The sky was clear again and the stars shone brightly at night. Children laughed freely. Schools were filled with learning and communities worked together to improve life for everyone. Fear and panic were replaced by hope and cooperation. Maya, Iris, and Nora continued their work, helping people understand the lessons of the test. They taught that life was not simply surviving or obeying rules. Life was about connection, shared understanding, and moral courage. Every person, family, and community could create meaning and strength through cooperation. One afternoon, a message came from the collective, delivered through a small sphere that hovered briefly over the city square. The voice was calm, neutral, and steady. Observation continues. Humanity's moral and cooperative potential has exceeded previous calculations. The test will be suspended. Humanity may continue under new evaluation protocols. You have demonstrated the capacity for collective moral coherence. People cheered, not out of fear but out of joy and understanding. The world had learned a powerful truth. Humanity's value was not in weapons, obedience, or fear. Humanity's value was in thought, heart, and connection. Maya looked at her sisters. "Do you understand what we have done?" she asked. Iris nodded. "We changed the rules. We showed them that humans are more than a single life, more than a single body. We are many, and yet we are one when it matters." Nora smiled. "And no one had to die. That is the part that makes me proud. We kept life whole." The sisters walked through the city, greeting neighbors, sharing lessons, and witnessing the joy of people who had discovered their own strength. Humanity was stronger than it had ever been, not because of power, but because of unity, creativity, and courage. As night fell, the city lights glowed softly. Maya, Iris, and Nora returned to their apartment. They sat together on the balcony, looking at the stars. "We have survived the test," Maya said softly. "But more than that, we have shown the world who humans truly are." Iris rested her head on Maya's shoulder. "We faced impossible choice and found a better answer. That is what being human is all about."